Oh, okay, so I have to start this video by making an apology. That's always fun. I speak in this video from the point of view of a DJI O3 Air Unit fanboy. It's what I had in front of me, it's what I use on all of my builds. Just know that in most cases throughout this video, when I say the DJI O3 Air Unit or your VTX, I basically just mean any modern VTX that has an input voltage range from around 7.4 volts to 26 volts, like 1S to 6S, and you know, like even above for some VTXs. So just please keep that in mind while you're watching this video. I'm sorry about that. I already have plans to refilm this thing. Anyway, let's get into it. Hey you guys, thank you for clicking on another Clover FPV Systems video. My most requested video right now by you guys is how to wire your video transmitter with the Clover Cage for not only your drones, but also your surface vehicles and your planes. I tried to make a video on this once before, and it's kind of a complicated subject, so I scrapped that video. Today, I'm just going to make a quick and dirty desk video showing you how I have my quads and my surface vehicles wired up, and this should translate also to wings. If you have any specific questions, obviously you can ask me. It's totally my plan to make a more in-depth video, but I want to get something out there for you guys to get you guys running. So I'm going to bring it to the dirty desk. Make sure you're checking timestamps below if there's a specific part of the video that you need. This video in order is going to cover setting up the pigtail for your video transmitter, then for your quadcopter, then for your ground vehicle, and then options if you want to use the O3 armor. Please hit a like on this video and make sure that you're subscribed and consider checking out our Patreon. Okay, so first thing that we're going to have a look at here is your wiring harness. This one has seen some abuse, probably could use a little bit of a rebuild, but it still works as it is, so I'm going to show it to you. So as you can see, this is just the regular JST that comes with the air unit, and it's just dangling out the back. This one doesn't have a cable retention clip. So you just take the 6-pin JST connector in the case of the O3 air unit. If you have a Caddx Vista or an HD0 Freestyle 2, the idea here, you guys, is that each one of them has power in and ground. That's what we have here. Red is power in for the O3 air unit. That's anywhere from 2S to 6S. And I have an XT30 on there. I'll get into the reason why in just a bit here. And then this is the RX and TX wires with a JST connector on them. The reason I ended up going with XT30 is because it allows for the most versatility. It speaks the language that surface vehicles speak, and a lot of fixed wing and other RC things speak. You're going to see a lot of Dean's connectors as well, but a lot of these, when they come stock, this whole end piece is like super glued in, and it's important that we have a way around that later. So the reason these are different is because I never want to plug power into UART, because you'll start popping stuff in here as soon as you do that. So that's the reason why these are different. The reason that this has a big bulky XT30 connector on it, and why it maybe doesn't have like a BT 2.0 connector, is because I tried BT 2.0 connectors and they hold on too hard. You can't pull the cables apart without tearing the wires off. So it may seem counterintuitive, it may not seem perfect, but the XT30 is guaranteed to be able to carry the amount of voltage that you need to power your video transmitter, and it's just the most universal choice. If anybody else has a better solution, I'm open to it, but the idea of having something different between these two is important, and the idea of having something universal is also important. And it's good to have an XT30 on these things, because then you can take things like your CNHL Ministar 2S battery and just plug it straight into the air unit for power. And whatever takes 2S batteries or things like that, and that just already you have the most versatility possible. Let's take a look at quadcopter wiring first. At last, we have our top plate off. Okay, so this is what we're looking at in here for the T-motor stack that I have in here. It has a battery and ground pin right here, and the air unit supports up to a 6S battery, And that's all I'll ever run on this. So it's easy for me to connect straight to battery here. And so this red wire is straight to battery through the flight controller, and the black wire is straight to ground onto the flight controller. Another option that you have with the air unit, and again, this is the same basic concept for all of the video transmitters on the market right now, but you have to make sure that you know the input voltage limitations of your video transmitter. The other option that you have after you've checked your video transmitter's capabilities is to wire directly to the battery pads here, which is essentially what we do on ground vehicles and airplanes. Again, as long as your battery is not going to overvolt that input. If you know that you're going to run maybe an 8S battery, you're going to have to run a BEC in line. If you don't know what a BEC is, they're just little guys that look like this. So this is a Mamba 5 volt, 9 volt BEC. If you know that you're going to be running something higher than 6S, then you'll just want to solder that BEC in line on the power here. But if you're going to run anything higher than 6S, you're probably going to want this BEC. And so when you go to connect the quad, you just plug it in. Oops, make sure you have it the right way. Jeez. You just plug in your XT30. Oh, I should explain the JST connector. On the quadcopter side, the JST is connected to the, oh my god, my soldering. The JST is connected to the RX and TX pads here and breaks out on this pin to the RX and TX for your video transmitter. And you just plug those in like this, and that's what enables you to get telemetry from your video transmitter to your flight controller so that you can have things like OSD and voltage readout and stuff like that that's programmed into your flight controller. And then you just plug your power cable in just like that. Make sure that your wires are all managed when you go to stuff this back in here. We are working on solutions for better wire management, I promise you guys. And then when your top plate is on, yeah, it looks just about like that. And then you're ready to screw your mounting screws down. Ooh, boy, this video is quick and dirty. Okay, if you want to put it on something else, you just pull your connectors apart, and let's say we want to put it on our 4x4 basher buggy. Okay, so here we have our car, and this is where your battery sits. This is a 3S 1500 mAh Z battery with an XT60 connector. We have another XT60 connector here, and you'll notice the XT30 that comes off of it. This is the connector where we connect our wiring harness for our external mount. It's worth it to mention that this car, the MJX Hypergo H16BM, actually comes with a Dean's connector. All of my batteries use XT30s or XT60s, and they all charge by XT60. So I made this little converter. So if yours looks different, it's because I added these XT60 connectors in here. It works in your advantage a little bit because this allowed me a place to solder in my XT30, and these Dean's connectors come glued shut. So if you have a Dean's connector like this where your end cap doesn't come off, you are just going to have to expose some wire in here somewhere and solder your XT30 in that way. But this is how it's going to look generally for not just cars, but for all of your RC vehicles, including planes, where you'll have your electronic speed controller that is powered by your battery, and you'll have a receiver / servo controller right here. And you're going to want to power your air units straight off of your battery, but you do that on the ESC side so that this XT30 pigtail can stay permanent on your setup. And this will make a little bit more sense when I actually grab a Clover Cage and show you what I'm talking about. Now, to attach your video transmitter, you could technically at this point just plug this straight into this XT30 and then plug it into a battery, and we're in business. However, you don't want that because you want it to be quick swapping and highly modular. So That's where the external mount comes in. And you can see that it has its own wiring pigtail. And this is important because it makes this fan removable in line. So the way that this ends up looking is that you slide this into place here and use your mounting screws to get it all the way into place. And then, so we have an XT30 that's straight off the power lead on the ESC side that connects to your harness that has an XT30 female to XT30 male, and spliced onto this side is the wire for your fan. And then we are ready to add your video transmitter. Move your antenna into its position where it's guarded by the Clover Cage in case of any flips. And then you connect your video transmitter's power to the open end of your harness's XT30. And then you just take this and tuck it someplace where it is out of the way. And we're ready to rock. So as soon as you plug this in, since it's straight battery to the fan and the video transmitter, those are going to start up as soon as you plug in. And then the next thing that you have to do is just turn on your vehicle. Now you'll notice that the video transmitter and fan did not shut off when we turned off the ESC power, and that's because we're going straight from battery bloop to your external mounting kit over here. The reason that I wire it like this is specifically because with these, short course trucks, you don't really need long range. This does limit your video transmitter to low power. I'm not sure why so many people have the issue that when they're in low power mode that they can't record DVR. It's never been an issue for me. I've always been able to record DVR straight to the thing with either the onboard DVR or an SD card without having to go high power mode. I don't know why I'm able to do that, but it's true. And even though you're only limited to 15 megabytes per second of transmission power with the O3 air unit in low power mode, it's plenty enough for if you're doing an indoor course or an outdoor short course. And if you're using the stock remote for the H16BM, you'll run out of range on that before you run out of video. A couple tips and tricks about running this system is that if you are going to run it on a bigger car, then you do have to make sure that this wire isn't dangling in a way that it's stressing the connector in the back so much that it unplugs. If you come down and land and that landing pulls the cable so that it pulls the cord out of the back, you're going to lose video that way every single time. That's what the wire retention clip is before. Improvements to that are coming as well, you guys. But that's exactly how I run it on my basher. Another free tip for you guys, if you're using the O3 air unit and bashing in wet conditions, just don't use an SD card. Use the internal onboard recording if you're going to record. If you use an SD card, just at least make sure that you're recording your goggle DVR as well, because you could lose that footage really easily. Now, these tips and tricks apply to the O3 air unit if you're just doing short range and don't mind staying in low power mode. If you're going to be doing long range, or especially if you're going to be doing wing flight, you're going to want to make sure that your video transmitter can go into high power mode without getting an arm signal from flight controller. So analog VTXs and any other video transmitters that don't require an arm signal to go into high power mode, or if you don't mind being in low power mode, then this setup will work just fine for you. If you are running the O3 air unit and want to learn how to set it up for high power mode, that is what we're going to get into next. Okay, now let's say that you wanted to run it in high power mode using the O3 armor. You take the 3D print that I've designed here and screw it into place. route the wires around this way and plug it in to the O3 air unit. So we then take that cable and put it underneath our cable retention clip and give her a little plug-er-do in the back. Right. So now we've got the 6-pin JST connector that goes straight from the air unit out into the armor. The armor does have a proprietary slot on the side here for a fan, and these fans that I like to use do come with the 2-pin JST connector that plugs right into there. However, since these are high voltage fans that are designed for like hardcore RC bashing, the ones that I recommend actually can't be powered off of that pin, because when you plug the battery into it, it has enough power to power the fan, but then you don't have enough power left over to power the O3 air unit. So we take that same harness that we made before, where the power lead is going straight to the fan, and then it goes straight into the O3 armor. And then when you plug things together, everything powers up just right. This blinks for a little bit. That's just the program on the board booting up. And now we're in high power mode. Alright, you guys, there you have it. I hope this clears some things up. I know this was quick and dirty, so if you ended up with any questions, please just leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to include those points when I make the full and actual video. Thanks so much, you guys. Hey everyone, Clover FPV Systems is on a mission to grow. I want to take this project worldwide, and to do that, I could use your support. The best way to do that is to go over to cloverfpvsystems.com and make a purchase. The easiest way to do that is to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. And if you'd like early access and ad-free versions of all of our videos, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, merch, and more, please head over to our Patreon. And remember, the cure for bad luck isn't good luck, it's perseverance. Stay bashing. I'll be here in the next video.